Time to BS with Staniel Smooth. The Sports Cave and BS Sessions is presented by our friends over Righteous Fellow Beef Jerky. Are you looking for some smoky flavors of new jerky? Well, come on down and get some Righteous Fellow Beef Jerky, the official jerky of Belly Up Sports and Belly Up Media. Use the promo code BELLYUP and get 15% off your next order at righteousfellow.com and satisfy your taste buds today.
This is Han Solo, and I'm going to be keeping you company for the next few hours right here on the Midnight Shift.
It's time to BS.
So anyway, Mitch, that's how I got a cactus on my asshole the other weekend.
I mean, that's a crazy story, but I mean, whatever.
What a start.
For sure.
What's up, Mitch?
Hey, not much, man. Just glad to be here.
We are minus one of you today for right now until, he eventually decides to join in. But we got two guys in a dart joining in, and that is a fucking interesting name for a podcast. Like a Dodge Dart or some shit, or like a dart board.
It's a Dodge Dart. I think it was around Christmas time. I think we told the story. Many years ago, Bobby and I worked together. We had to travel for work, and I was sent to get a rental car from our boss to take this 4-hour trip to where we were going to go. And I had Bobby convinced that I got him a Chrysler 300 and we were going to roll out in style and everything. But in fact, because I'm a huge Mopar dude, I love Dodge and all that stuff. So the guy at the rental place was like, you can take this Chevy Malibu or this Dodge Dart. And I'm like, no, I got to keep it Mopar. So I rolled up to get Bobby at his house in this Dodge Dart. And it was the best trip we've ever taken, but the 4-hour trip turned into like 8 hours. There were so many things going on the road. It was a snowstorm. It was crazy. So
where the fuck were you?
So we were going from Reno, Nevada to Elko, Nevada, which is it's east along the 80 out there, like you're going into Utah.
Yeah.
And we just sat there for 8 hours, basically, chopping it up and everything and talking. And so years later, when we started a podcast, we were like, you know what? Let's call it where it started,
That's fucking beautiful, man. Yeah. That's awesome. So where are you guys? Jesus, voice crack. Where are you guys currently right now? Because we say currently because it looks like you're fucking moving.
Yeah, I'm out of here. So currently I'm just outside of San Antonio, Texas. And then Bobby lives up in Austin, so he's up in the state capital. And
God bless him.
Yeah, for real. It's he loves it. He came from kind of the smaller area, Nevada, rural and stuff like that. And so he's up in the big city, and he really enjoys all that stuff. But that's good for him. Not for me though.
Yeah, you're not big into like the city life and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not too big a fan of I don't know, like populations that are on top of each other. I just don't like all the traffic and everything just being right on top of each other. It's not for me. So
I feel that, I do, but you're not a big Texas person, are you? Just in general.
No, not at all. It's probably I get that a lot. Like, it's a hot take. Like, people come here, a lot of my family's here, and it's really great. There's not a lot of bad to it. It's just, I think it's got an overhype to it. It doesn't feel as good to me as I guess it does to other people. I'm not a fan too much of the weather. I'm not a fan too much of the populated areas. Like the major cities are just overrun, and it kind of hinders your ability to be a local and do like fun stuff.
Texas shit.
Yeah, you want to go do Texas shit, and you can't do a lot of it if you're a local, that's for sure.
No, you can't. And it sucks because Austin and San Antonio in particular have been two of the faster growing cities in the country
Yeah.
right now. It's fucking insane.
You can definitely tell that when you live here too.
I'm sure.
I'm sure. It's unbelievable. The amount of people, the amount of traffic, the amount of just chaos all the time everywhere.
I know someone that lives in Virginia and his fiance wants to move to Texas, and I respond with, why the fuck do you want to move to Texas? That state's gonna be expensive and overpopulated in 5 years. She's like, oh, but I really love the countryside. It's like, first of all, you're from North Carolina. Piss off.
Right.
I can't say shit. I'm from Long Island. I'm from New York.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you're getting a lot of countrysides up there.
No, we actually, believe it or not, we talked about this before we were on the air, about the East End of Long Island. There's a lot of farmland out there.
Yeah.
There's a ton of farmland out there. And every now and Long Island is essentially people who want to be country and Jeep guys. That's that's Long Island in a fucking nutshell. But
yeah, you see that here too. Like you see where there's like pretend cowboys like in the city, and then you'll end up out in the rural areas, like the hill country of San Antonio areas.
Yeah, fucking terrible.
But there's real cowboys out there.
Oh yeah.
There's Yellowstone type cowboys out there, and they're truly
Kevin
about that
Costner,
life.
some shit.
Yeah. And you meet those folks, and they really do. Like, Kevin Costner, those guys on that show, they play these parts perfectly because these guys are actually that way when you interact with them.
Yeah, and I blame. I care, but I also don't give a shit because in the end, it's like, okay, you're trying to be someone you're not, and that doesn't fucking compute in my brain.
Yeah,
it's like
you can really tell where the fake ones are.
Yeah, especially here. Oh my god, they're all going to Nashville.
And that's the thing, right? Like, I think that when you have like a place like New York or Chicago or any of those like major cities where that type of thing is not normal, and then you fall in love with a show like Yellowstone or something, you want to live that life, you actually need to go where those things are. You can't recreate it in places where it doesn't exist. It just doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And I'm proud to say, like, I love Long Island. It's going to be home probably for the rest of my life. It's expensive as shit here, but at the same point, it's like I know what I am as a person. Like, I'm a beach guy. I love the beaches. I love sitting on the water or hiking on the trails every now and then and just fucking enjoying the nice weather up here and actually having seasons up here. Fuck you, Texas.
Yeah, for real. To that point, what is it? It's to October 27th. I'm rocking shorts and a t-shirt today when I go out.
What the fuck?
The splash pads at SeaWorld are still on. It's going to be low 90s today. Yeah.
Wow. It's going to be low 90s in October?
Yeah, that's our break, too. We get,
what
from
the fuck?
the 110s and stuff.
100 and fuck.
Yeah, that's it, too. And I remember, it's funny, too, because I moved to Texas first, and I came down here for family and some other opportunities that we had. And Bobby was looking to get out of Nevada, too, but it took him a couple years to get here. But he would, the first Christmas that I was here, it was a white Christmas up in northern Nevada. So it's snowing, ice everywhere. I mean, like a normal winter. And I sent him some pictures. I was cruising. We had to go up into an area up by Austin and see my in-laws, and then we were coming back down to San Antonio. But I was showing him pictures of how like the temp on Christmas Day while we were traveling was like 82, and we had the air conditioner on in the car. Wide open blue skies. He's like, I don't believe you. He's like, it's not real. It can't be real. I told him. And then when he moved here, finally, he's like, I don't understand this.
Like, I don't understand Texas people, how they do this shit.
How is this normal? And it's crazy that it's normal here. Like everyone that's a native Texan, this is the way of life. Like there's no other way of life.
Yeah.
This is it. And they don't understand anything outside of it. So it's a strange thing to be not from here.
Texas, you Texans are a very unique bunch. I will give you that. You are a very unique bunch, and it's really interesting how you see people trying to mimic that lifestyle. Not just like Texas, but you see California trying to do it. You see Tennessee, fucking California. Oh. Mitch, cut out. Hold on. Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. And we're back. Technical difficulties. It was you. Yes, it was you. It was technical difficulties on Mitch's part. Goddamn Texas.
I know. You talking shit about Texas, all of a sudden my internet cut out. It said...
God was listening. I smite thee.
So this is God's country and this is God's internet, and you won't use it to talk shit.
You know why? Because you're moving to Florida. What the fuck? Oh my God.
I feel like that's God's country too, though. I mean, it's...
Florida's an interesting group of people.
Florida's a lot more... I think when you look at it, there's more diversity in Florida than there is in Texas.
Yeah,
for sure.
that's for sure. At the same point, I enjoy Florida. I like Florida to visit in the winter, and that's it.
Yeah, I hear that's the way to go for a lot of people in the north. But I guess it's what they name those places for, like Winter Haven and Winter Garden and things like that.
Us Yankee folk.
Yeah.
Trash the north, won't you?
But you don't have normal winters either. Like, for years, my brother, he was in the Navy. He was stationed in Connecticut, and I would visit. And I've been in some like nor'easters and stuff like that while I was visiting up there with him. And I'm like, I don't understand. How is this like real? Like, you have to call FEMA at this point. Like,
yeah, it's bad. It gets bad up there every now and then, but not to the point. We had a blizzard in like the 80s where it was like 6 feet of snow.
Yeah.
It was something like that. It was fucking insane. My mother could tell me about it because she was around back then. I wasn't. But, well, you look at me like, you must look 40. It's like, nope, I'm not. I'm closer to 30 than 40.
Right.
Yeah, so
I just don't know, man. I don't know how people like choose to live in those areas. To me, it's too much.
I love the cold, so I love the cold too much.
I like cold. I just don't like snow, like driving in it and living in it and dealing with it. Like, it's too much.
Yeah, I feel that part. My fiance and I, we looked at leaving the island one time, but it really does depend on where you go, because you either get, oh, it's nice up here too. Why is there no roads?
Right.
Because of all the snow and shit.
Over the time, it just gets rid of them or erodes them. Yeah.
It gets really bad. So, what's some of our Texas stuff that you can share? Because, if I'm wrong, is it true that you need to have a buddy of yours get you your first cowboy boots? Like, that's your tradition in Texas? I've heard that.
It probably is. I haven't got cowboy boots. I've got, what are these things? Sombreros.
Oh, you like just boots in general?
For boots in general, I don't know. I don't wear them. I don't get into that kind of stuff. But when people bring me like souvenirs or stuff like that, like I got, they go down to Mexico a lot. Some of my friends, they go down to what's called the Valley. It's down right on the border, Brownsville, kind of those things.
Yeah.
And they'll cross in. They have family in Mexico and stuff, and they go and they bring me back actual souvenirs from across the border and stuff. So I have
awesome.
I have like authentic Mexican ponchos and Mexican sombreros and stuff like that. So
you were talking about one of the episodes how you had like a Sonic the Hedgehog some poncho or some shit.
Yeah, they were doing a big Day of the Dead celebration around one of these small towns we're in, and one of the vendors they had ponchos, like legit ponchos, just stamped with like all the NFL team stuff, Sonic, everything. It was like whatever you could do. And I was like, it makes a lot of sense because you sell hoodies like that. These people are they're getting into that niche, man.
Yeah. How'd you guys get a hold of B Word? Because I did a podcast with him not that long ago. So
B Word and I have been friends since elementary school. I've known him since like third grade.
Shit.
Yeah. Him and I have been friends long, many years. When my dad was a cop, his mom was a cop. And at one point, There's a small town in southern Nevada where my dad was he had just been hired. He was a deputy sheriff there, and B-Word's mom was a state trooper. And so they were both stationed in the same area, and that's where we went to elementary school together, and then moved to a different town near around the same time, and we went through our high school career and everything together. So
Okay.
I've known him. Yeah, I've known him almost my whole life.
And then when he approached you, but hey, join my network.
So honestly, what had happened was we hadn't talked for a couple of years, probably, just with life and everything. He was doing his own thing, I was doing my thing, and I had moved to Texas, and I hadn't been keeping in contact with a lot of stuff. And he actually started the Bleach Bros podcast with Jake.
Yeah.
And him and Jake were, I don't know, probably like 80 episodes deep or whatever. And they wanted to do an episode where they explained what Bleach Bros meant. And there was a night back in high school where there were 4 of us. There's one that didn't come on the episode. He missed out. And they asked me to come on and tell the story with them. So I did. I was like, yeah, let's try this out. Let me see. And so I recorded that episode where we talked about why they were called the Bleach Bros. And I was an honorary OG Bleach Bro. So that was cool. And then we chopped it up about Spider-Man that had come out that year, that movie. And then it probably took me about a year. I had come back on and done, I think 2 different like moderator episodes for them where they were going up against a different podcast to do like fan casting and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was really just enjoying the time spent like doing podcasts and stuff. So I started picking his brain on how to start it, what to do with it. And he had all the avenues to get on there, and he was like, oh, just start it and we'll run it this way. And Bobby and I had been talking about doing the Two Guys in a Dark thing, and especially since we were long distance at that point, like we weren't talking so much every day, so we had more, to talk about. So we just finally said, let's do it, and put the gear together and put out the first episode, and then just started rolling with it ever since. And when they stopped doing Bleach Bros, he turned everything into the B-Word Media Group, and so we just kind of fell into that. And then with the other podcasts there, and I've started 2 other ones, so I host 3 separate podcasts on the B-Word Network.
Nice.
And I just love every minute of it. It's so much fun,
Dude, the podcasting community is so fucking great. It really is.
It really is, yeah. And I mean, just to say, I mean, if you don't know B-Word, if Brian Howard is probably one of the most humble dudes you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
He's such a down-to-earth dude. He's passionate about what he's passionate about, and he's never truly let me down as a friend. He's always been there to kind of support you through anything that you're going through, and to bounce ideas off of, and to really just kind of be a part of that network. So I mean, I think he's a wonderful dude, and I don't want to talk too much about him, but it's his fault. Yeah, it's his fault that I'm a podcaster now, and that everyone has to hear me 3 times a week. So
Makes you feel better. Like, I got into the community on like my own terms. So I started my show 6 years ago or some shit, and it became its own little separate entity called, it's very generic, the Sports Cave.
Sure.
Very generic as shit. And that lasted for all but 43 episodes, and then I rebranded into Time to BS, and that became, we contacted a network called Belly Up Sports and Belly Up Media to the hope of like, hey, we can get some more traction and stuff like that. And then, so the best piece of advice I ever got with the podcasting world is, don't try to be Joe Rogan. Just try to be you.
Yeah.
And that stuck. And with BS Sessions, it allows this show in particular to talk with various different people, have them tell their stories. Also, just bullshit around if it's late enough, have a few drinks here and there.
Right.
Go, it's 10 o'clock in the fucking morning where you are. It's 11. It's close to noon where I am. So we're not drinking yet. So
not yet.
Not yet.
I mean, you can here in Texas, but I don't think you should.
No, you can, but you should. One of my favorite podcasts that I want to get on, but I've ever heard was actually where you are, over in nearby San Antonio, the Freedom Friends.
I've never heard of them. I gotta look them up now.
Yeah, they're
though.
fucking great. And it's just, they're 4 military veterans
Mm-hmm.
who just decided to start a podcast and just fuck around and have some good time and smoke cigars and drink a lot of booze. And it's great. And
Yeah, that's the best formula, I think.
it's awesome. Yeah.
It's something where, I mean, like I said before, like we used to try and like really like in some of our earlier episodes, you'll really see it. Like we did a whole breakdown on Waco. But I mean, we're both
Yeah.
kind of history buffs. We're both real into that stuff, and we went to Waco. Like it's not very far from here. We went to the site. We went to where the siege happened. We looked at everything. We took pictures. We studied it. We watched the documentaries. We broke down a whole episode on it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of just putting in all that
Yeah.
research and what you're gonna do and how you're gonna frame the episode and everything. And to now where we're just like, you know what, like let's just talk about whatever's on our mind and really see, like if, it's just our opinions. It's not like a lot of what we talk about is not fact, but
That's the best, though, which is you're just fucking around at this
like
point.
I said, our sports stuff, it's not fact, but it's just, it's better. Yeah.
You're just fucking around at this point. That's the best part, where you have the ability to
And
just
be Rogan, because that's like such a big, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to just be. You don't want to be Rogan. You
And I'm
don't want.
dropping again.
Yep, you're good a little bit. You're good.
Yeah.
You're good. And
Yeah. You just don't want to, but to be Rogan is just to do that. You're just talking to people, interesting people.
yeah, but and if I mentioned this before on different shows, and if I did this for the money, I would have quit years ago.
For sure.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
For sure. And BS sessions, just being able to tell stories of people's lives. And one of my favorite shows ever did. I don't know if you heard of the Bromigos.
Yes.
Matt Mish. He was on
Yes.
BS sessions not that long ago. And that's one of my favorites I've ever done in my life. And I'll send it. I'm sure you could find it. It was volume 37.
Yeah. We'll look back through it, and for sure, we've listened to Bromigos and stuff.
They're great.
They're top, man.
They're fucking awesome. I'm trying to get on with them one of these days, but scheduling and shit, and Panama being in fucking Germany,
right.
of all things. Hey, gotta flee the country somehow. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. Did you see Trump got on Donald Trump got on Rogan's podcast? I am sick. My brain is hurting.
I'm about an hour into listening to it, and it's something else.
It is. It really is. And of course, people lost their minds over it. Like, oh, Trump this, Trump that. Like, fuck off.
It's a lot of. When you hear him talk on stage, when you hear him, when you speak, you get the sound clips and everything like that. But to listen to the full interview, like he's very calm.
Yeah.
He's talking about points that make a lot of sense, things that were happening that, just, there's a lot of stuff that like we as Americans know is going on,
Yeah.
but you can't say it out loud or you get canceled, but he's saying it out loud and it needs to be said more. I think that's what's happening.
Agreed to that. And The Undertaker was on. I don't know if you're a wrestling fan at all.
Oh, for sure we are, yeah.
Oh, we're going to have a fun time. So, hold on. Where's that sound button?
There it is.
So,
Yeah, we've covered WWE and all kinds of stuff on it. We're pretty big wrestling fans.
one of my favorite podcasts I ever listened to was the Jim Cornette Experience.
Mm-hmm.
And he lost his fucking shit when Taker got Trump on his podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you. I'm the kind of person that likes to live in a judgment-free zone where it's like we can disagree and still be cool with each other.
For sure.
Yeah.
I know, I disagree with a lot of people on a lot of things, but you find that common ground. You just do. I have family members who don't support my political beliefs. I don't support theirs, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't make a lick of
me.
fucking difference. It really doesn't. It's
Yeah.
I've lost friends because, they disagree with some beliefs that I have. I've stood on my ground of I believe we should be focusing on helping people in, our own homeland.
Yes.
And stuff like that. Like just taking care of, veterans, the infrastructure, and not putting other people first. It's like, okay, but we also got to take care of ourselves, and that goes into the mindset of, hey, it's okay to be selfish every now and then.
For sure. And I think it's been talked about. More and more price celebrities and influencers stuff talking about it now. The ones that aren't owned by Hollywood, but they say it like, before we send another dollar to another one of these countries that's not actually, in any kind of real crisis, like our own streets need to look like Dubai.
Yeah.
Like our homeless people. And then these ridiculous politicians, they do stuff that makes it super obvious to us that they can. Like when China came to visit San Francisco and Newsom cleaned up the streets, there were no homeless anywhere. But then all of a sudden the next day when he's gone, they're back. Like, so it can be done. You can support them. You do have the funding.
But you just choose not to.
You just choose not to because you're going to virtue signal that, California is the greatest thing to help the whole world. And it's just nonsense, man.
No, and you get it here sometimes in New York where I'm going to trash New York City in a second, but you see Long Island has gotten a little worse with the homeless issue over here. And Long Island's a great place. No hate for Long Island except for you Jeep fuckers.
The Jeeps.
The fucking Jeeps. Do you know what Jeep stands for?
I do not.
Just empty every pocket.
There you go.
There you go. So, New York City as a whole has been a dumpster fire for the last God knows how long. It's gotten worse over the years. And
I say it's like 40 years or so, like since the 80s. It's
gotten worse. It's so bad. But it's gotten rapidly worse over the last 10 years. Where me and my girlfriend at the time, my fiance, we were strolling around New York City, and there was a dude who looked like he was about to whip his dick out, just out of the blue, on the side of the road, and just started pissing in the road. I was like, okay, you got pissed, but come on now.
It's unreal, right? And you seem like it's dangerous to be there, like at night, right?
Yeah, it's
like,
bad.
I think this is probably a difference, for Texas or everything, but I know you can't do this in Long Island or up in New York, but anytime I leave my house, I'm armed.
You can't do it up here. Unfortunately, you can't.
Everywhere you go, there's, like, when you go to the grocery store, there's 95% of the people in that store are armed. So
yep, I believe that.
You have a sense of, like, I'm gonna be okay if something happens in here. I mean, you go anywhere and you're everyone's armed, so you don't really, unless you're at an event or something like that, like a security event, something at the Alamo Dome or something like that. But I mean, typically just walking around, going in and out of the grocery stores, going in and out of a Buc-ee's, some stuff like that, like everyone's armed.
Yeah.
So you don't have that same sense.
We don't have that up here.
When you get into these like downtown areas and stuff, like there's less people armed because they're more, they lean towards that other political side. And so you have more of that homelessness and stuff. And downtown San Antonio is super, super bad. I mean, there's police department substations in the buildings and stuff, but it's rampant everywhere.
Yeah.
You just see the homeless laying around at the rivers and everything else. So you can't, again, like as a local, you can't necessarily enjoy it, and you choose not to go down there. The same as Las Vegas Strip is the same. I don't know what's in Chicago, but Hollywood Boulevard is the same.
Chicago's gotten bad. Chicago has gotten really bad.
Yeah, Chicago's never been a favorite place of mine. I've been there a couple of times. Every time I've been there, it's been the winter, so I don't really know if it's a good place or not. But I've never liked it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not. I've never been to Chicago, but all I know from different people that go up there that it's gotten worse over the years. Mm-hmm. And Long Island, same way. Like there are 3 parts of Long Island that Long Island is separated mainly by 3 train lines. There's the middle line, north line, the south line. South line's where I am, and I'm close in the middle between the middle line and the south line, so I'm dead smack in the middle. And you avoid going to any of the towns or residential areas on the middle line.
Yeah,
you
just know it's that dangerous.
It's mostly hood. It is mostly hood. It's mostly just bad, and you're
not allowed. You're not allowed to defend yourself or anything like that, or carry something that. Yeah, that's what's crazy to me. I mean, if you get into politics and stuff too, like I see where like states are run differently. Like Austin right now is probably one of the worst cities when it comes to crime. And the defund the police, the defund the police thing when it hit Texas, it hit Austin and I think Dallas the worst. And it's at a point like that happens in other cities across the nation, and you see where like governors don't do anything. But right now there were 2 events last year in October. The governor here gave a directive to the mayor of Austin and said, you have until the end of October to clean these streets up, get the homeless people off from around the Capitol grounds and all this other stuff, and get your police department working, or I'll do it for you. And then he did it for him. He sent in the state troopers. They patrolled the entire downtown area. They cleaned up all the homeless people. He sent in state sanitation. He cleaned it all up. And then Austin failed again. And currently, the Austin Police Department is so understaffed that the governor has mandated that the state troopers are assisting. So the state troopers are working all the roadways, all the highways. They're flooding. There's an additional several hundred state troopers from Texas deployed to the city of Austin while Austin tries to handle its 911 calls, basically.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So, but the same can be done in all these other states where you have this problem. Like you have the power as a governor to activate your state patrol, your highway patrol, your whatever, your National Guard if you need to. I don't know, but they choose not to because they'll lose the virtue signaling war when it comes time for election.
Which is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Because what's more important, your votes or the safety of your people?
That's what they don't understand. Yeah, because I mean, and it's crazy because most of Texas is like, yeehaw, vote for that guy again. You know?
Yeah.
he does shit. Like, he gets it done. Like, if there's something happening, he'll make it happen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And I'm a big believer of just the whole pro-cop movement and stuff like that. And, when I see people, it's like, oh, defund the police and stuff like that. Like, why?
Yeah, so, it's the most backwards thinking.
It's stupid.
If you think that the police are, like, if they're a problem or if they don't have the tools or the necessities to do what they need to, then you need to fund them more. You need to get them better mental health care. You need to get them better equipment, more staffing so they can handle more of these calls, less frequently. You got to just do more. I see a lot of that in, I see upgrades in a lot of stuff where I think it's not so much the technology, but investing in the people. And I work in the business world, and I see that too, where it's like, if you're trying to do less with more, more with less, then you're doing it wrong. Like, you can't take 100 tasks and divide them over 5 people and expect the same results.
Nope.
If you had 50 people doing it. So when you start looking at, well, it's profit, all you're caring about is profitability, which a lot of these states are doing that because they want to see surpluses in the budget, so they cut the funding to certain things, not realizing what they're actually doing. And you can't run it that way.
You get that in New York too. New York, the NYPD. The NYPD used to be like the cream of the crop in terms of top tier. It was top tier. Like, so, and most of Long Island too was top 5 highest paid police salary in the nation for a long time.
Top training, all that.
Top training, everything. And that went away like that.
Yeah, I think it wasn't that long ago. It was maybe 10 years ago. I think the top 3 in the nation were NYPD, Las Vegas Metro, and LAPD were the ones that were, you would consider those were the standard in which, other agencies would train to and everything else. And those agencies, all of them have fallen off, but not because they, that they wanted to fall off, but because that's what they've been reduced to. They can't possibly maintain what they used to do.
No, they can't.
Well,
and there's no direct entity which you can blame. Hey, you can blame the politicians, or you can blame the homeless people, you can blame the crime, you can blame a lot of things, but there's no direct entity about it. And I've lost friends that say, like, oh, the whole defund the police thing. It's like, okay, so let's say in theory someone breaks into your car, who do you call?
Yeah.
Who do you call?
That's just the thing. I mean, when the crime actually happens to you, what are you going to do? So, and again, I go back, like, I don't know what the laws are in New York. I mean, I know what they are in California and stuff like that. But if someone breaks into my house, there's an arsenal in this house. They don't want to break into this house.
Oh, I believe you.
And I guarantee you that, my next 6 neighbors in this neighborhood all have the same kind of setup, right? There's just people who have worked hard for what they have, and they're going to defend it.
Yeah.
And they have the ability to, and the right to, and they're equipped to do so. So,
of course.
But in other places, you can't. You're not allowed to. I mean, if they find out you have a gun in your house, somebody breaks in your house in the middle of the night and you shoot and kill them, you're going to prison forever. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we get that up here in New York, where it's like you can't defend someone; they basically side with the intruder. Mm-hmm. Where it's fucked up.
Sense.
It makes zero fucking sense. You're not a big sports person.
I'm really not.
I don't blame you, because I've gone back and forth with sports as a whole. I like talking about it, but I'm going back, say, 15 years or so. Wrestling does that for me too, where, yeah, the wrestling business is booming nowadays, but if you go back, say, from 2007 to 1995, those 12 years of wrestling were some of the best you'll ever see.
Yeah, that's probably about where I was in it, late 90s, early 2000s. And I said, like, I sent you this picture just a minute ago. You were asking me about wrestling earlier. That's me at work. He just showed up.
Goldberg!
Yeah, so I'm cruising around, and there's Bill Goldberg.
Bill Goldberg.
I'm like, hey, are you Bill Goldberg? And he's like, yeah. He's like, you want a selfie? I'm like, you damn right I do. But
he's awesome. He's genuinely good dude, I heard.
He really is. He's just shopping for bananas and stuff, and he's talking to everybody. He's stopping to talk to people who work there, and he's talking to just people in the community and chatting it up with them, and just taking selfies. He's such a selfless dude, and real nice guy. Just he lives out there now. He's got a farm and some stuff out there, kind of like Steve Austin, where they retired with what they were after,
Yeah.
And now they're just normal people.
Mick Foley's like that too. Mick Foley's from up here.
Yeah,
he's from Long Island, and he would like one of my dreams to do is to get him on the show and just have him tell stories of Undertaker and Mankind, Hell in a Cell back in the 90s.
Right.
Him going him and ECW as Cactus Jack. TNA.
Yeah, just what that was like, right? Like,
yeah. Just like, I'm not looking for your views on what the fuck. Like, I want to know, like, hey, the wrestling business back then. Because, I could go on a tangent about how ECW, like, lost all of its money and then basically just killed the business back then with all the furniture and stuff like that. I could talk about Vince Russo and WCW. And his shit show, TNA, and that shit show with Dixie Carter and Jeff Jarrett and Vince Russo and Jim Cornette, Ring of Honor. I'm a wrestling fan. I'm not like, oh, I'm just a WWE fan. Like, no, I love professional wrestling. And there are some comments that I've gotten say, oh, you're just a WWE guy. It's like, no, I love professional wrestling, and AEW fucking sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell in the eras like which one was actually, I want to say for the fans, not
Yeah.
necessarily like the money grab or whatever. But I mean, like when they went out there and they were in love with what they were doing, and they were, there's even The Rock. There's some of the stuff where The Rock was like truly invested in it. To now when he makes special appearances, like, he used to be really for the fans and that stuff, but
The Rock in the 90s especially, yeah.
yeah, for sure. When he was The Rock, before he was Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah. one of my favorites, I'm a big Taker fan, judging by that sound.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite matches he ever did was WrestleMania 28, Hell in a Cell, Shawn Michaels, a special guest referee against Triple H. And that was one of my favorite matches he ever did. And who was your favorite growing up? Because
so originally, like when I started getting into wrestling, I was a Hulkamaniac. I loved Hulk Hogan.
How about now, Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, I loved Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage. I thought they were the coolest duo on there, and probably because I'm a comic book guy, so like they were just like the flashiest, like,
oh yeah,
they had the most like energy and entertainment out there and stuff. And then when Sting dropped in, looking like the Crow. I mean, I was immediately a Sting fan, but again, a lot of it's because I'm a comic book fan. So I'm like, that's Batman in the rafters up there. He's coming down with a bat, beating up dudes. Like, I was real into that. So yeah, those were my guys for sure. Hulk now, I think Hulk Hogan's pretty. Yeah, he's gone through some stuff for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he has.
But
I'm sure he has.
I think he's still a pretty intelligent guy. I mean, he's out there. I know he's not wrestling anymore. He can't afford it. He's done for sure. But
he's done. Yeah. You're a comic book guy. So I remember we had a comic book store not too far from me, and you could get like stacks of comic books for $2. Mm-hmm. It was the fucking best. Where each comic book is like 50 cents or some shit, like 20, like a quarter. It was awesome.
I've got totes and totes full of comic books. My collection's been growing probably since, last 20 years when I could really start buying my own stuff. And it's sad because I'm moving, so I just had to pack it. But my normal studio where I, record and everything too it's affectionately called the toy box because it's just all of my toys from so many years ago, and they're up on shelves and anything new that I'm getting and all the artwork and stuff. So like, it's just a big, toy box.
I'm gonna take pictures of something for you that I think you would fucking love. So I'm a big gamer in that regard.
Yes.
And
yes.
I have a Husky toolbox filled with games. Hold this thought. I got one drawer, two drawers, boop, three drawers. Oh shit! Cables. Damn it.
Cables.
Cables.
Okay.
There we go. Hold on. So I gotta go get them for you. 1, 2, 3. And that's one drawer. That's 3 drawers. And I gotta go get you the other 2 pictures of the controllers and the setup I got.
Oh yeah. See, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. That's effective.
For sure.
Simple and effective.
That's a stolen idea at this point. I'm about to...
You're welcome.
That makes a lot of sense.
I know, right? It's great.
Oh, yeah.
Wifey hates it.
I've been through that too, but I think once you get long enough into it, because my wife just accepts this at this point.
She does. Me too.
She's like, yeah, it's fine. You want to buy an action figure or whatever, that's how it is. Yeah. Just go ahead.
Look at the setup on the TV. So that is so next to the Xbox 360, there is a General Electric RCA switch box.
Okay.
That I had to crawl to find on Amazon, and it has hooked up through to the TV, and it's hooked up into the GameCube, the PS2, the original Xbox, and the Wii.
Right.
And there's an HDMI splitter that's hooked up to the 360 and the Xbox One. And the other 3 HDMI ports are hooked up by the PS4, the Series X, and the Nintendo Switch.
See, that's a true setup.
That is a fucking beautiful setup right there. And the toolbox is great. It's
a perfect.
It's perfect.
It's a perfect way to set that next to that and just have that as an option.
Just be proud of your shit.
That. Exactly. Gaming's a huge influence, I think, too. We've talked about it on the show too. Like, it's had such an impact on generations of kids and stuff. And I mean, it's something that I think crosses generations. I remember, like, I can sit down and play something Mario with my dad right now just because he was doing Mario Brothers back in the 80s.
Oh my God, yes.
And a Nintendo, and I mean, at least he understands the reference and stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just that generational thing. It covers that. I think it's great.
Yeah. And I look at new games nowadays, and I look at the old shit. Mm-hmm. It's not the same.
It's not. There's so few games that are new that I would play or even invest my money into, but when I can go back and play the other stuff. That's what's really killer. Is I've spent hours. They did on Xbox. They did the rare rewind or something like that. It's a package. Yeah. So I've spent tons of hours now playing Perfect Dark.
I just got that for my Xbox One.
The Nintendo 64 version of Perfect Dark.
Yep.
On my Xbox, and I've just been beating it up, and I actually have a 64 with a Perfect Dark cartridge too. So I've been trying to play them side by side and see, and it's clearly there's updates to it. Like it's built for Xbox now, so it's not as choppy and whatever. But yeah, it's that's the kind of stuff I spend the money on too. Like on your Switch, do you have the old emulators?
I do not, but the GameCube and the Wii, I have. If you've seen the drawers, I have maybe 20 years worth of games between the Switch, between the 3 consoles, the 360, the Wii, and the GameCube. And the PS2, fun story. So, the Series X, the PS2, and the Xbox One, I got for free.
Nice.
So I have a buddy of mine who works for a moving company, and every now and then he gets to fuck around and just loot some shit because legally he can do that. And so he's coming home from the Hamptons out east on the island, and he goes, "This is like 10 o'clock at night." He goes, "Dude, I have a mint condition Xbox Series X in the box. Do you want it?" I'm like, "Fuck yes."
Yeah. Who's gonna say no?
Who's gonna say no? And this thing was in mint condition, a terabyte worth of data. And it was awesome. And back like a year ago, I had no instance of trying. I had tried to find a way to hook up all the consoles into my TV. That was into this big TV to my right. That was my goal, and I did it. And then after I bought the original Xbox, I told my fiance, I was like, okay, no more consoles. I don't fucking need them. The games, however...
Yeah, the games have to keep coming in.
The games are coming in because that toolbox is going to get filled.
Yes.
It's only one row left.
I think, that's the collector part of it, right? Because you could easily get most of that stuff digital and updated and stuff. But I think having those collector items, putting those to the discs, the hardware.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of all that stuff too. I'm a fan of putting, I've got the different controllers, not anymore, I'm moving, but the controllers are hanging on the walls.
That's awesome.
You have to, I like to visualize all the stuff that, it just brings you that nostalgic moment. It inspires you to go back into what you were doing.
Physical media as a whole has gotten, it's a dying craft now with the age of streaming and stuff like that, with the age of the internet connection is all that you need. But there's something about having a physical copy of a game. Like, I'm gonna. The audience can't see this, but so let me go get it. Shit. There we go. Got it. Are you familiar with the Game Boy player?
I think so, yeah.
So the Nintendo GameCube back in the early 2000s released an attachment for the Game Boy called the Game Boy Player. And it's considered a collector's item amongst gamers that, especially for those that like the Nintendo junkies like myself, there is a way to play Game Boy games on the GameCube.
Right.
This is the disc. This disc alone on eBay goes for $300.
Right. Because it's
a collector's item.
Yeah.
And because it was so hard to find that there's some various retro game stores that I go to and they just every now and then they have it. I just go, I want this, and like yoink, done. Because it was so hard to find, and the fact that I have it, it's fucking fantastic. And I'll play my old school Pokemon games in there, the old Mario World games. I fucking love it.
Yeah,
and
there's a difference to it too. I mean, like I said, I go back and play old stuff. I'll turn on my Switch, go to the Super Nintendo tab, and then just play Super Mario Bros. For hours.
Yep.
Before I spend money on something new, but like that is different than if you're playing an old Game Boy game, like on your physical Game Boy through the Wii, that's even more nostalgic. That's even better. And I think it's important too. I mean, I collect a lot of stuff, and it happens to me too, where I'm looking for something, I haven't seen it. I'll go into every time I travel somewhere new, I go into whatever kind of toy store they have or whatever. And I have walked into toy stores, and there's Funko Pops that I've been looking for years, and they're always, hundreds of dollars online. Here it is sitting here in this store, and the guy's got like 5 of them, and they're $12 each. And I'm like, I will take that. And that's right. But I'm not the kind of guy, like I could buy all 5 of them and turn around and try and sell them online for a higher price. But because I know there's another collector out there that's looking for that, and he's going to find it in this gem of a store in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And so I want to see that. Yeah. So but having that coveted thing finally is where I think you win as a collector.
That's where the original Xbox for me came into play, because I have the Master Chief collection of Halo for the Xbox Series X, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's cool, but I want to be able to have that feeling of playing the original Halo 2 and playing the original Halo game and playing certain games on the Xbox that, like, I have them for the GameCube and for the PS2, but having them on a different console just means differently, Like, I have two copies of Spyro: A Hero's Tale for the GameCube and the PS2. I have copies of Lord of the Rings and Return of the King for PS2 and the GameCube. And just to fuck around and see if I could spot the differences between the two games.
And you clearly can if you go back. I mean, play GoldenEye on your 64 and then play it on the remastered version. It's so different.
It's so different. It's so fucking different.
Still a lot of fun. I think it's getting back that first time playing it too on that console in that moment that you're not going to get when you get an updated version either.
Nope.
Like, so when I finally started buying my own consoles and going online with stuff and like playing online gaming and everything, the first game that I played was Reach.
Oh.
And I can go back to that. That is by far my favorite piece of Halo. There's nothing wrong with that game. There was nothing wrong with that story. Everything about that was crispy, and it opened up to me so much of the lore. Because then after years of playing that, and then ODST, and then going back and rediscovering Halo, because I never really played 1 or 2 or anything. Going back and trying to piece it all together and getting involved with it. It's so good, so but good. I'll never be able to capture that with Reach again, where I'm just like I know what's going to happen in the story now, so I can't be surprised by everything, but I still get that.
Yeah, and I have my 360 sitting right here, and I put and every now and then I'll just fuck around. I'll play Halo on the campaign, and I have Call of Duty games, but people ask me like, "Oh, why do you not play Call of Duty that much as opposed to Halo?" I said because I'm a Star Wars junkie.
Yeah,
and that's
same.
the closest thing I'm going to get to Star Wars in an alternate universe in that regard.
Yeah,
Is Halo.
I would say the thing I play the most, like just to play, is Titanfall 2.
I got to get that.
I think as far as a first-person shooter, a storyline is so good, and then the way that the mechanics and everything work with the Titans and everything, like it's always the player v player matches are 6 players, so it's 6v6 plus your Titans, and then there's hundreds of AI spawned into the map at the same time, so you have to actually pay attention to like what you're trying to kill, because you're probably just killing grunts and AI that don't really mean anything, and the player kills are what you need, and the Titan kills are what you need. So it really makes you like play multiplayer on different levels, and the customization is great and all that. But yeah, the Titanfall series is great. I think if you're talking about Star Wars, Battlefront 2
Where is it?
Is incredible, right?
Where is it? Where is it? Hold on. There you are. I have it right here.
That's the one, man.
That's the OG one. Yup.
It's so good.
Yep.
It's even with all the updates and everything that you can do with it now, and just to go in. Sometimes I just go into arcade mode where I'm basically God mode Boba Fett, and I'm just running around doing the waves where they just come out and you're just killing them for a while because you just want to be in it. You know, I'm in Cloud City. I'm Boba Fett. I'm killing stormtroopers.
Just fucking around,
rebels, whatever. Yeah, I'm just there. I'm just in the zone, man.
Yeah, that was me with. What's another fucking great example? Like, so there are some games I'll just play just for the fuck of it. I'm getting a Spyro tattoo one of these days, and I will die on this hill, and people hate this game. I will die on this hill and say the Spyro Enter the Dragonfly is my favorite Spyro game ever created.
I've only Spyro'd once on PlayStation, so I don't really know the lore to it and everything.
There was the first game released for the first 3 games were released for PlayStation, and then Enter the Dragonfly is the forgotten 4th game in the franchise, and then after that became A Hero's Tale, and then came the Legend of Spyro trilogy for the PS2 and GameCube and stuff like that. But Enter the Dragonfly was so fucking ungodly glitchy.
Was it?
It was so glitchy as shit. But it was my favorite game growing because it was simple and I could keep going back to it. The story was not too long, not too short. It was simple and effective. And I miss that feeling with gaming nowadays.
I think that's what makes games good, is when they talk to, like, if you play the campaign on Titanfall, it's not very long, but it's just impactful enough that it makes you, when you're in the multiplayer, you're like, I'm invested in this. It's just that good, and I think the same for Battlefront.
Yeah,
the storyline is not, the campaign is not that deep. It's not that long, but it's super impactful. Like I have Idioverso. I've got for Funko Pops. I've got some of the comic books that came out about Inferno Squad.
Oh yeah.
Inferno Squad's dope. Operation Cinder. When Operation Cinder was referenced in The Mandalorian, I was crying. I was like, that was amazing.
Whoa.
You're talking to characters that were there. Like, it could have been one of those campaign missions. I mean, it's super impactful, that storyline, but it didn't take you very long to get through. It had just enough Easter eggs. And then it just made your campaign or your multiplayer experience better because you were like invested in this Star Wars part again.
Have you played Metroid?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Do you remember Metroid Prime?
Mm-hmm.
So I got Prime 2 recently for the GameCube, and it's fucking awesome. I love Metroid Prime, and when Nintendo announced that they're releasing Prime 4 for the Switch, it's like I have one spot for a Switch game. in the drawer that's not going to be like picked up by like the Wii or the PS4 or the Xbox One or the 360 games, wherever I can get it, PS2 or the fuck. And I will always leave one spot for Prime 4. Because whenever that game comes out, I'm telling wifey, it's like, I'm getting that game. I'm getting that fucking game. I love Prime.
It's as close as we get to, like, you know, there actually being some sort of media to it. And I think Nintendo cracked the code when they did Detective Pikachu, when the Sonic movie came out. Like, not everything has to be live action. Like, you can do the mix. Like, realistically, like Detective Pikachu and those things, that's just Roger Rabbit for this age.
Yeah.
When you're mixing the real life with the cartoons, and it works, but it works better than trying to make a live action Mario movie. Not everything has to be live action, but you could still have really great animated features that explore these characters more and more.
Yep. See, Funimation did that right with the Mario movie. They did that right. And I will give them a lot of credit for that. Funimation has done a really good job in terms of making really good animated movies out of basically nothing.
Yes. You can take the basic story elements of any of these characters, turn them into a really great feature-length film, but you got to keep them animated. You got to keep them as kind of what they are, right? Like, I don't see the point in seeing. I mean, if you're, I don't know. I've probably talked about this on Heroic, but if you're going to do live action, I think the only one really live action wise that would be good is the Zelda series.
Yeah.
You would have to do it in the vein of Lord of the Rings.
Yep, I was just going to say that. Yep.
It has to be in that completely mythical and fantastical world. And you can blend in like Dark Crystal with some Lord of the Rings action and really drive like this really great Hyrule experience. But if you try and do it any other way, you're gonna fail. Like, it's just not gonna work.
Yeah, I got wifey into Lord of the Rings not that long ago, and she was like, "This is fucking awesome." I said, "I know, right?"
Yeah,
it's fucking
really
great.
And it's what really trips people out is when they get into it, and it's like, you watch the 12 hours of the original trilogy, and then you watch the Hobbit probably shouldn't have been 3 movies, but, you get them. To understand that you've basically just scratched the surface of the whole Lord of the Rings thing with all that content that's out there. I don't know. I haven't been into much of the Rings of Power, but I feel like it's good, like from what I've seen. I think it's fascinating that they have to tell the story that they're telling, because they don't have the rights to tell the other part of it. Like, that studio can't tell the Fellowship. They're only allowed to have access to this much of the source material, so they have to make their show about this. And so, are they doing a good job with that? Who knows? I mean, I feel like it looks good.
What do you think of the new Star Wars shit's been going on the last 10 years or so? Do you hate it?
So, man, I have to be. I don't know. I hate certain things about it, but so I'm a huge Disney guy. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons Orlando's a thing right now. Is we're super into the parks, the everything, right? And so, I think a lot of what Disney is doing now that Iger is back is probably better. When Chapek was the CEO, he was a money grabbing dude. All he wanted to do was get money to the shareholders. That's it. That's why the park experiences suffered. The content being pumped out. This just it was almost week after week. Marvel had something new out, and it was just trash and trash.
Yep.
And then of course the senior leadership at Lucasfilm over at Star Wars. I think if it's not touched or done by Filoni or Favreau, then it's probably not going to be good.
Agreed.
And I think, like the Acolyte, it had a good premise.
The Acolyte had something there, and then
but they failed it.
They fucked up so bad, yeah.
And it's the same thing with Agatha all along. Like, so when I was getting geared up for the Acolyte, because I still had hopes that it was going to be something good. There was a great cast. We were talking about, High Republic era Jedi and all this other stuff. I thought we were going to get something good. And then I started watching the interviews before it had come out, and knowing that it was canceled, like by the time episode 2 was coming out, the whole series had been canceled. And so all of the actors and actresses and the people over there were, they were saying that all the fans are homophobic and they're this, and Star Wars is for this, and it's not great. And
Which
I'm
is like, who the fuck cares? Because
and I'm like, why are you attacking me? I don't. You know what I mean?
why are you attacking me, the viewer, when you brought up the shit in the show?
You're the one who made it. Like, it wasn't that good. And somebody did a chop up thing where they re-sequenced the episode. So they said, like, the way that it should have been put out was like episode 3, 7, 6, 1, 2, then 8 or whatever, like, because the story would have made way more sense that way if you watched it in that order. And they screwed up the editing. The biggest thing for Star Wars for me is that I will love every piece of Star Wars. It's a hyperfixation, but if the story isn't there, I don't care about it.
Agreed.
If it's not good storytelling, I don't care about it. I've said this for years. Andor is hands down the best piece of Star Wars that has come out in the last 20 years. Absolutely the best.
Yep.
There's no Jedi in it. There's no Force users. There's no lightsabers. There's none of that big magical mystical stuff that's happening in the grand scheme. It's just the early stages of the rebellion or secret rebellion pieces, and the ever-growing looming threat of an established empire that could be at any turn. It is so suspenseful, dark. The cinematography was beautiful. When those TIE fighters are chasing them off the planet, when that star thing is happening, incredible visuals. And the storyline was just so awesome. And what's crazy is where that story's going.
Yeah.
We know that season 2 is going to end at the beginning of Rogue One, so we know right where it's going, and it's so good. You just vested in it.
That was when I watched the sequel trilogy. I've yet to show Megan, my fiance, I've yet to show her the sequel trilogy. And then I pretty much have to follow up with say, these movies are not as much hated in the Star Wars fan base as much as it's a genuine state of confusion. Where they had something going with Force Awakens. They had something going, and then when Palpatine came back in Rise of Skywalker, I was like, and you fucked up.
Yep, it's all over now. Yeah, it doesn't. They said what they're looking at right now, because it was announced early this year that there'd be a Rey movie, like, will take place years.
Sakes.
It's like 10 years after Return or Rise that we'll see Rey building a new Jedi temple and all this stuff. And the immediate backlash was so overwhelming that they've actually put it on hold. And there's talk now because Kathleen Kennedy's on the way out. Like,
no
they're
kidding,
actually,
really?
Yeah, they're actually moving her out at this point.
Where's the button?
Yeah, so I don't know how long. Like, they say 2025 she'll be gone or whatever. They're going to replace her. More than likely, Filoni will be the head of Star Wars.
Thank God.
Wouldn't it be? Because if you're telling me that the guy that brought us, the Bad Batch and had a huge hand in the Mandalorian and Boba Fett and all these things, stuff that people actually care about, is going to run the show, then we'll be in a better spot. But they've also been talking about how the sequel trilogy will be moved out of the canon universe and into like a what if, like a Legends series, and then they'll have to figure out what to do with the remake of that trilogy. I mean, minus Carrie Fisher and
See, what I think they should have done is I think everything should have been fine, but if Palpatine doesn't come back, and if they only just had Snoke, fine.
Sure.
Perfectly fine.
They could have. I don't understand though. Like with the Legends characters that they had. I mean, there were Han and Leia had twins. One of them being Anakin. I think Luke had a daughter. Like there were already a wealth of characters that they could have just done. Why they didn't need to create Rey Skywalker at all. They didn't need to create all this extra around it. And there was so many unended, open-ended things with those other characters that you just didn't care about in the first place. They didn't need all that either.
Yeah. It's a shame because I love Star Wars. I really do.
Sure.
And every time I watch Revenge of the Sith, that's still my favorite one.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it's right there. I'll
watch Revenge of the Sith, and every time Anakin's portrayal comes up, when Kenobi gets shot down from the cliff, when his clones turn on him, and then the music starts playing, I start tearing up because and then you see one by one everyone falls, and it sucks because.
Have you seen the supercut of Order 66, where they do episode 3? So Order 66 happens, and then they show there's flashes of the episodes from season 7 of the Clone Wars where Ahsoka's dealing with it, and then they have the scenes from Grogu's point of view, and they just go back and forth. It's so crazy to see it.
It's insane.
And that's what other people get so mad about. You put out this thing with the Acolyte, which nobody liked, nobody asked for. It was just trash from the beginning. But there's so many other stories. Give me Quinlan Voss. Give me some of these other Jedi post Order 66.
Hell, even
Where were they? What were they doing?
Even pre Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Which Tales of the Jedi is great. If you're watching those, there's a I think it's 6 episodes. 3 follow Ahsoka and 3 follow Count Dooku, and it's Dooku's fall to the dark side essentially. But they're only 15-minute episodes each, so you barely get anything in there. You could really explore that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's so much more to look at and what the fans want. But they don't listen to the fans. At least they haven't been for a while.
Yeah, not for a while, but
I think I'm a huge Boba Fett fan. Boba Fett's my guy, and the first couple episodes of the book of Boba Fett were incredible, but then it fell off, and then they're like, oh, we're not going to do it anymore. I'm like, you need to keep doing it. You need to put the same effort you put into Andor into some of this other stuff.
You don't need to let your feet hit the shit. You need to dig yourself out of the shit and onto solid ground. You know what I'm saying? It's Harry Potter does that for me too. I watched the first 4 Harry Potter films, and there was somewhere in there that they basically just said, fuck it, and wing it together.
Let's just get to number 8. Hurry up.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of what they're going to do with that series now? The remake of it?
I'm curious to how the fuck they're going to do it.
But I think so. The main rumor is that they're going to, each season will be one of the books. So they're going to be 10 episode seasons. No, not 10. I'm sorry. 7 10 episode seasons. But each season will have an entirely different cast, like Doctor Who. So Harry Potter in season 1 will not be Harry Potter in season 2. They're going to recast it every season.
Where's it being streamed? Max?
Yeah, it'll be a Max.
They get the Max budget?
Sure. Mm-hmm, yeah.
I'll think it's going to be fine.
Yeah, so it's going to be fine. I feel like the Hogwarts part of it, it's going to be real House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones type stuff. With that,
I fucking love Game of Thrones, dude.
Those castle backdrops and those kind of areas. I think you're going to see.
They're not going to mess around. They're not messing around with that, and
I think it's going to be really good.
What else? I got a whole collection of DVDs. Go back to the physical media thing. I have a whole. I have 2 towers full of DVDs. I don't know if you can see. I could move the camera. There, can you see one of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have somewhere in there. I have Titanic. I have Ghost is in there. Ready Player One. If you haven't seen that, great movie.
What an incredible movie!
It's such a good movie, and one of Spielberg's hidden gems.
For sure.
Avatar's in there, Inception's in there, the Indiana Jones 4 films are in there, Jaws is in there, the Dark Knight trilogy. By the way, can we back to the comic books?
Mm-hmm.
The Dark Knight is probably the greatest superhero film ever made.
I I tend to disagree with that.
Do tell.
So,
Do tell.
I think the Dark Knight. I think Batman Begins is better than the Dark Knight.
Okay, I will hear you out on this one.
Because I think it's the first time that you've seen a true Bruce Wayne turn into Batman like tale.
Yeah.
Every other, you get like the flashbacks to the pearls and everything else, but this was really about Bruce Wayne's journey to kind of understanding what the Batman is and becoming that, right? He had to really go through the trials, and there's a lot in that movie that unpacks it. Right up to the final scene where he's talking to Gordon on the roof and you get the flash of the Joker's card. I think that's more impactful than the Dark Knight. Just got too much hype because of Heath Ledger and all this other stuff. Heath was a great Joker, but I'm not a fan of the Joker. I hate the Joker. I think he's way overused. I think he could be used way more sparingly and have more impact. But he was probably the best version of the Joker, the most menacing, of course. But yeah, I think Begins is better than Dark Knight. Dark Knight Rises was trash.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't like I just don't like all the political undertones and everything. I think this, if you've watched Pattinson's Batman and if you're up to date on the Penguin, I think that does a better job of showing what Gotham really is with like the crime and the mobs and everything versus what Bane was trying to say in that movie. So I mean, I get it. Nolan is great. The Dark Knight trilogy's up there.
Yeah.
But I think Begins is the best, then Night, then Rises. But I think other projects are better all around.
Have you seen John Q before?
I don't think so.
Or Crash? Have you seen Crash?
Crash I've seen, yeah.
Crash is fantastic.
That's a great one.
Such a fantastic film.
Yeah, I think that's. I love movies like Crash where there's so many different angles of everything going on. Yeah, and you just have to really pay attention to it. You get real into them.
I fucking love detailed and oriented movies. They're so good, and that's why
it makes you. Yeah,
that's why the Harry Potter films, like towards the end, it was like, oh, okay, the details are gone.
Yeah, there's no more explanation. There's just it's magic. Oh, okay. That's good.
You never understood, like, you never got, like, I thought the end of Deathly Hallows Part 2 was like, that's it?
Yeah, it's very rushed.
It was rushed.
I think when you're leading up, and they specifically did it too. It was a cash grab where they split the last book into 2 movies, which is fine, whatever. But I think when you were leading up to all of that suspense, and it was going to be this great big battle of Hogwarts and all of this magic and sorcery and witchcraft and everything was going to go down, and you got like a like a 6-shooter one-off kind of thing with some magic CGI. Like you were like, okay, well, that wasn't as climactic as I thought it was going to be. We were building up to this. I had more invested in emotion when in Goblet, when he was in the cemetery with them, and he was a whole menace, and it was the first time we saw him and everything. Now he was just shooting wand sparks at each other. It really wasn't the best ending at all.
No, it wasn't. That was me with, it's a hidden gem. I think a lot of people really, I got made fun of it for this. People think I was like, oh, you like a chick flick? No, Princess Bride's a great fucking movie.
Well, it's a great movie.
Fucking fantastic movie.
I get a lot of heat for that too. People say it's not a good movie. It's overrated and stuff. I don't know, man. I think it did some stuff that wasn't normal at that time in making movies, and it had some great people in the cast. Some of the best lines, some of the best visuals too. I mean, it's almost on that dark fantasy kind of level, but it has a little more realism in it, and it's fun. It's a fun movie.
It's great. I can watch that film all the time.
Yeah,
I can watch it. I never get sick of it.
Those are those ones. That's it too. I never get sick of it. Like I can watch 24 hours of A Christmas Story every Christmas. One network puts on A Christmas Story all the time, and it's the visual. It's that old school visual film.
Yep.
And the same thing with Princess Bride. If it's on, I'll watch it for a little while. I mean,
Yep.
I love that kind of movie.
What else do I got here? I think you would appreciate. How to Train Your Dragon.
Great film series.
Fucking awesome.
Great film series.
It's one of those movies where you think. It's one of those movies where you think of this can't work. And then it did. It was fantastic.
It's the same as like Kung Fu Panda. Like, this isn't gonna go anywhere, but like, there's some really great lessons in those movies, man. Like, they spin them in some great ways.
Kingsman, Part 1 and 2.
Dude, the Kingsman is that's another thing I really like. Is like, I'm a huge Bond guy. I love the James Bond stories because there's still, even now, there's so like they're not really explained. Like, how is James Bond always a different guy, you know, or is it a number, or is he an agent, or, you know, whatever. But a good spy movie like The Kingsman is it's like a refresh version of something you're already familiar with, and you just either like it or you don't. But it's not like trying to be James Bond. It's not trying to be Mission Impossible, and it's so cool. I love The Kingsman.
So I made a comment on Instagram about The Notebook, and I said, this movie deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for how fucking good it is. And people lost their shit. Like, it's not a good movie. It's about cheating. I'm like, okay, still a good movie.
People who talk negatively about that movie are either closet fans of that movie, or they've never actually seen it and understood it.
It's such a good film.
It is.
It's such a great film.
It's the same. It's the same as like Forrest Gump. People say like, Forrest Gump is boring. It's dumb. It doesn't make any sense. I'm like, well, you don't understand it then. Like, you've not paid attention to the movie.
The Godfather, to me too. I will never get sick of the first Godfather film. Never get sick of it, because like, I grew up in an Irish, Italian, German family, and like, especially on the Italian side, with my dad's side, there is a certain culture that you can go and say, family's got your fucking back, no matter what.
Right.
And the Italian family does that. And when my grandmother passed away a couple years ago, I didn't know she had different family members in Brooklyn, and they were coming to the funeral, and they told us stories like, your grandmother helped so many people in Brooklyn off the streets that if you just say, oh, I'm Phyllis DeZana's grandson, they'll say, come this way, we got you. And it's like, wow.
You just don't know that world.
You just don't know that world. And
I think the Godfather, I mean, it's not only just a great movie, but like, it's not parodied, but I mean, you look at Zootopia, and they basically do with the little rap.
That was one of my favorite scenes I've ever seen.
Because that movie's so impactful that they know that like everybody's going to recognize what this is, and they're gonna love it. You know, it's a great movie. It's a great film series.
It's one of the great films ever made. One of the greatest films ever fucking made.
And it's always tried to be like imitated, but that's all they can do. It'll never be.
Yeah, Shawshank Redemption is another great film where you can go and watch that 1,000 times and just hear Morgan Freeman narrate your funeral and just go, I just missed my friend. It's a great story too. Again, I go, like, when you're talking about great movies, you're talking about ones that have great stories. That's an interesting story. Yeah, it is. It's fucking fantastic. Oh, dude, we've been doing this for an hour and a half. I love it. I'm fucking down with that shit. All right, Mitch, appreciate you coming on, my man. This was fun. Just picking your brain was fun.
Yeah, man, no problem. I enjoy being here. I enjoy coming on and talking with other people on their platforms and stuff. And of course, I mean, we're gonna try. We're getting close to 100 episodes ourselves, so we're gonna try and start having some guests come on and chat with us. So hopefully, we can get you on soon. We'll rehash some of the wrestling stuff. You and Bobby will get going on some of that nonsense. Maybe jump into some of these football predictions stuff closer to the Super Bowl. But yeah, man, it's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you asking us to come on. I'm sorry again that Bobby couldn't be here.
That's all right.
He's a busy character, but next time for sure. Of
course, man. So that being said, my name is Samuel Smooth. This has been BS Sessions Volume 42. I'm coming to you from the lovely beaches of Long Island, New York, and I will see you all in this life and most certainly the next one. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen.